Hey everybody, welcome back to One Man's Perspective. We are here today to tell you about yesterday's results at day 10 of the World Cup. Some huge results for teams that were in absolute need of big results. We'll start off with our 8 a.m. games. We had two games going on simultaneously, Netherlands against Qatar and Senegal, Ecuador. Essentially, Netherlands clinched, top spot in the group, as I think most people expected, beating Qatar 2-0 to essentially relegate Qatar to the sad history of losing all three games in their group stage, which is the first time a host nation has ever done that. That said, Qatar, I think, unfortunately, were outmatched in this group. I think they are a good team. I think they will get better over time. But the Dutch were the better team in this game. Cody Gakpo continues to impress. 3 goals in 3 games. His price tag is just going up and up and up. And honestly, I think we will see his movement from PSV in the Dutch league, the Eredivisie, to somewhere in probably where he ends up. But we'll see. His price tag is going up and up. So we'll see how that goes. But again, not surprising. The Dutch fit top of the group. The runner-up spot was up for grabs between Ecuador and Senegal, and essentially it was a very good game. I think my headline says Africa erupts because Senegal moves on with a 2-1 victory over Ecuador. They went ahead, then they got pegged back, and then literally minutes later, Captain Kalidou Koulibaly, who I love, great player at Napoli, struggling a little bit at Chelsea, but he'll get his feet back in the Premier League. I think when he gets back, just needs a little bit of time. Comes up big with a massive goal to go 2-1 up, and essentially that is how the game played out. Senegal, first African team to get it through to the round of 16. We'll see how many more of the 5 from the World Cup groups get through, but congratulations to Senegal, who essentially are missing their best player, Sadio Mane, through injury, but they are doing what they need to do to essentially move on despite his injury. I know he is rooting you all on from home or wherever he may be. And honestly, you guys did him proud, and Africa as well. So congratulations to Senegal. And then we move on to the games in the afternoon, the 12 o'clock in the U.S., or where I am, kickoffs. We had England go up against Wales and Iran versus the United States. A lot of subplots, context, off-field context in that game, but that remains to be seen. We won't get into that discussion here. This is not a place for politics. It's a place to just enjoy talking about football. So let's get into the first game that I mentioned, England against Wales. Wales were abysmal. They have been abysmal besides the second half against the United States in every game that they have played. They deservedly lost to Iran. They got spanked by England here 3-0 with England. All 3 goals in the second half, braced by Marcus Rashford and a goal by Phil Foden, who finally got the start by Gareth Southgate, and I think honestly deserves his place in the starting lineup over other players that he's favorited over the first 2 games, Mason Mount particularly. That said, Wales were terrible. Wales have been terrible this entire tournament. They marked their return to the World Cup after a 64-year absence with this truly astonishingly poor performance across all 3 games. They have some young players coming up, but I think with Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey specifically leaving the squad after this World Cup, I would imagine both retiring from international duty. I think it might be a while before they get back into the World Cup, although maybe I take that back. I mean, the World Cup is expanding to 48 teams in 2026 when it's being hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. I will reserve my distaste for that expansion from FIFA. I will leave it at that. I'm not going to go into why I disagree with why they expanded. I mean, obviously, it's just because of money. FIFA is all about greed and corruption, but enough said on that. So maybe Wales will get into that World Cup, perhaps because it was expanded. But if it was to stay within the 32-team current model, which I think is very well put together, then I don't think Wales would be anywhere near the World Cup based on their current squad, minus those 2 players I mentioned, Bale and Ramsey. But either way, they were atrocious through this entire tournament and deservedly finished bottom of the group and go out with a whimper to England 3-0. Other game of the day was US versus Iran. Yeah, I mean, this had, like I said, a lot of subtext, subcontext, stuff off the field that we're not going to get into. That said, very good performance actually by both teams. I think for me, as somebody from the US, I just want to give a lot of credit and shout out to the midfield, trio of Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, and Tyler Adams, who I think have all been phenomenal in this entire tournament. Now, what I will say is the U.S. have actually been very good in this tournament. I actually think that they rival England for the best in the group during this group stage. I think England had a great game, obviously, against Iran, were subpar incredibly against the United States, and the U.S. actually, I think, dominated that game and could easily have won that game. And then, they played well enough in the game against Wales, but I would say, honestly, the U.S. played very, very well in this entire group stage, and I'm proud of them for doing the hard work and getting through by beating Iran yesterday 1-0. Christian Pulisic, Captain America, as I reference here, his nickname, despite the fact that he's actually not captain during this World Cup. Tyler Adams is, and he's done a phenomenal job both on and off the pitch. Christian Pulisic, I just want to give you a lot of credit for going in for that goal and sacrificing fatherhood in the future by that. I joke in jest here. But I did hear that you had a pelvic contusion, which all I'm going to say is, ouch. Yeah, that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt. But, I already saw that you said you are going to be back for the game on Saturday against the Dutch, against Netherlands. And that is the sign of a true leader, somebody who just doesn't give up, and which is why I think Tyler Adams has actually been a phenomenal captain during this World Cup for the United States team. What I will say, though, is on the flip side, Iran, despite the fact that you don't go through to the knockout stages, I think you have put in a phenomenal performance across all three group games, deservedly beat Wales, narrowly lost to the U.S., despite the fact you could have easily drawn or won based on your chances yesterday, and honestly had a stutter against a very, very good England team. But you still acquitted yourselves well in that game and never gave up, never stopped fighting. So what I will say to the Iran national team is congratulations for making the World Cup, for being such a very great example of a team ethic and just hard workers. You guys should feel proud, and I just want to give a shout out to the Iran team, mad respect for your performances during this World Cup. That said, we are already into day 11. We will come back later with another live broadcast to give you a little recap of the day's events. Currently, France and Australia, surprisingly, advanced to the round of 16. We'll talk about that later. Enjoy the rest of the day. We got Argentina, Poland right now. And yeah, I'm super excited about this game because, Messi could go out at the group stage for the first time since 2002, which would be shocking. But, Poland could top the group with a draw or a win. So we'll see how it goes. But we'll catch up with you guys later on and see you then. Thanks, everybody.